just said the word "cao." In a radius of 100 meters, the desert unexpectedly grew lush green grass. I accidentally said the words "天." The previously clear sky with thousands of miles of visibility suddenly stirred up violent winds and rumbled with thunder and lightning. This is because I, who crossed into this different world, discovered that Chinese is the divine language here. As long as I speak it out in Chinese, I can make things happen accordingly. However, what I didn't expect was the entrance exam this time for the Crimson Set turned out to be comprehending the Chinese words in a painting. In everyone else's eyes, this is the heavenly secrets that can only be understood after 10 years of cultivation. Soon I was called up by the examiner. As soon as I got on stage, my looks immediately attracted the attention of a group of girls. Although they admired my appearance very much, they didn't have high expectations for my intelligence. When I clearly saw the so-called divine language, I slowly opened my mouth, 吸收灵气, and suddenly felt strands of cool breeze gathering from all directions. Then they all drilled into my body. This shocked the examiner Suzhu next to me. How could I chant the ancient divine language without anyone teaching me? He asked in shock and bewilderment. Have you learned the ancient divine language before? I shook my head, then said this is very simple. Simple? Suzhu directly questioned. Then let me say a sentence of the ancient divine language, and you try repeating it. Before I agreed, Suzhu had already chanted a sentence of the ancient divine language. As soon as he finished speaking, his body slowly lifted off the ground. I listened closely. It really was Chinese. Seeing Suzhu flying up, the boys and girls below were very excited, but before they could react, I also immediately uttered two words, 御风. As my voice fell, I felt my body float lightly off the ground. I had always dreamed of flying. Now my dream has finally come true. Compared to my excitement, Suzhu was shocked. He didn't expect me to really fly up. Suzhu was both shocked and delighted. This child's comprehension is terrifying. Simply a monster. The heavens really bless my crimson sect. But not long after, my body that had lifted off the ground fell back down. Why can't I fly up? Haha, it's because you don't have enough spiritual energy. Just now you only absorbed the wisp of spiritual energy, barely allowing you to fly half a meter high with the wind. I nodded. Since it's related to spiritual energy, then I'll have to absorb more of it. Immediately I shouted in a low voice, 加倍吸收灵气. This time even Suzhu could not understand what I just said. The originally calm surroundings suddenly stirred up violent wind. The surrounding spiritual energy all converged towards me, and I only felt my bones in my limbs let out a crisp sound. Very comfortable. At this time Suzhu showed an surprised expression. Such speed of absorbing spiritual energy is only seen in those few elders and the sect master of Crimson Sect. It's still not enough. Immediately I loudly shouted again, 3倍吸收灵气. As soon as my voice fell, the surrounding spiritual energy surged. The speed increased again. Each wisp grew thicker. Impossible. This has already far surpassed the cultivation sensation of my Crimson Sect. Suzhu had long been shocked speechless beside me. I felt a lot of spiritual energy pouring into my body. Instantly I felt a powerful force gathering in my four limbs and hundreds of bones. My bones let out a crackling sound, like beans popping. At this time I felt that with one punch, even rocks could be smashed. Just then, a figure descended from Crimson Sect and landed in front of me, dressed in light blue gauze clothes, with blue hair draped casually over her shoulders, giving a feeling of ethereal charm. I felt the person before me was so beautiful. I didn't expect this test to even attract the sect master of Crimson Sect. The sect master asked directly, how did you do it? What's written here are the most basic cultivation techniques, so I modified it a bit. Modified it with just one sentence from me. This charming sect master's face revealed shock. Very simple. As soon as I said this, one disciple directly refused to believe it and blurted out, 银剑. A long sword then appeared in his hand. If you can really repeat the ancient divine language, then try this one again. The sect master of Crimson Sect and Suzhu also wanted to see just how strong my comprehension was. They did not try to stop him. I listened clearly, smiled faintly, and said, 分解. Ha, wrong! That pronunciation is completely different. But the next second, the long sword he had condensed with spiritual energy directly collapsed. No one heard clearly what I had just said. Only the sect master of Crimson Sect felt a ripple of spiritual energy from me. Did you also comprehend this? I guess so. Just the reverse of the ancient divine language I said earlier. As soon as I finished speaking, I imitated him and said, 鸣枪. A long spear floated in my hand. The sect master was already shocked by my comprehension at this time. She said I would immediately be allowed into the sect and promoted to be an elder of the sect. Since I also wanted to find out what this so-called ancient divine language was all about, I agreed. Then I followed the sect master to the main hall. First, she introduced herself as Luo Zi, the sect master of Crimson Sect. Of course, I also had my reasons for doing this, because the ancient divine language you spoke just now already matched our sect's strongest Qi cultivation technique. So I want you to impart the cultivation methods you comprehended to Crimson Sect. At this time I appeared magnanimous. After all, Luo Zi immediately made me an elder. Then I slowly enunciated the method of absorbing spiritual energy from before. 三倍吸收灵气. But just these simple 6 words, Luo Ziying tried repeatedly before barely managing to remember them. After all, this was considered extremely difficult to repeat for the people of this different world. As she slowly recited, triple absorption of 三倍吸收灵气, a huge amount of energy instantly converged towards her from all directions. It worked indeed. The excitement was written on her face. She then turned to me and said, "Your comprehension really is too monstrous to actually evolve higher level techniques from ordinary method." I immediately stated, "This is nothing much. I can even further strengthen that ancient divine language. You've comprehended an even higher level of the ancient divine language." I sneered inwardly. "Forget triple. Even if it's quadruple, fivefold, it's still a piece of cake for me," I directly said. 四倍吸收灵气. Luo Ziying immediately stopped me. "This spiritual energy is too powerful. It's dangerous. Your body won't be able to withstand it." But it was clearly too late already. I saw an even more massive amount of energy converging towards me. The next second, I let out a heart-wrenching scream.